Hello everyone, welcome to the first episode of my new series Hindu Crusades, the Might of the Rajputs. Making this series has been a very important goal of this channel, by the way. I have been laying foundations for this series since a very old video of mine in which I had just given a glimpse about this era which we are going to talk about today, and then I also introduced the war animation which I'm going to show in this video in my battles and tactics series. So now we are here today and I'm pretty excited. Let's begin. When we talk about Hindu resilience, there is a certain people who have fought for something, for land. Where does this idea of that certain section of land being their own and dying and fighting for that come from? The people who fought for this entire portion of land which we today call Bharat weren't always united under one ruler, but they still fought to defend the land which is from Sindhu river to Vanga Pradesh and from Gandhar till the southern ocean. Even if they ruled a very small section of this vast stretch of land, they considered this as their own, because this entire country or this entire subcontinent is one single civilization. One of the oldest mentions of this idea comes from Vishnu Puran, in which it is mentioned that Uttaram Yat Samudrasya Himadraischaiva Dakshinam Varsham Tadabharatam Nama Bharati Yatra Santati. The idea of unification of Bharat was always prevalent. The attempts which were made to unify this land were called Digvijay, and the person who does this, who achieves this and becomes the king of the entire Bharatvarsha, he would be called a Chakravarti Samrat. Chanakya also mentions in his writings that the unification of this land under one rule is very necessary for the protection of the people. There are many names given to this land like Jambudweep, Bharatvarsh or Aryavart, which is the land of the noble people. People spoke different languages everywhere, true, but there was one language which unified everybody, and that language was Sanskrit. Well, we have proof for that because Adi Shankaracharya, who was a Keralite, he walked his way around India, and when he met people while establishing the Shakti Pithas, they did not speak Malayali, right? Or he did not speak their language, but they could still converse. It is because all of them knew Sanskrit, and this language was not imposed on anybody. And I'll tell you what is how I am saying that. There is proof for that too. So basically people were well aware of that this entire stretch of land, everyone follows the same civilization, so we are all one. Now you would think that as these people are divided and then the invaders attack, then these people are fighting to save their own land and not the one which is beside them. Well, no, that is not the case. And as the story progresses, you will come to know how. The earliest recorded invaders of Bharat are the Mlecchas, which are recorded in our Indian text. Later, the Greeks came. They were called as the Yavanas by us, because Yavana means the mixed people or the people who have forgotten their ancestry. This was said because a battle called Yuddha Dasaradnya, or the battle of the 10 kings, occurred during the Rigvedic times, and that time many clans were thrown away, they were outcasted, like Parsva, which are the Persians, and then there were Danavas too. They were not the part of the Yuddha Dasaradnya, but some time ago after some battle even they were thrown out, and a tribe called Alina, which later became Helena, and then there is a lot of things. So basically the Alina tribe is were the Greeks. That's why they were called the Yavanas, because they were outcasted, and after going out they intermarried between the other people and blah blah blah. All that happened. After the first contact in battle of the Hindus and the Greeks, actually we don't know whether Hercules actually came to India and tried to win some parts of Gandhar, because when Alexander came to Gandhar, he already found many Greek temples over there. So it's controversial, but for now we will just say that after Alexander came. So after Alexander came to India, the rivalry between the Hindus and the Greeks began. The Mauryans and the Shungas spent their lifetimes and spent their generations to fight and repent these Greek invasions and these Greek attempts to get control of the heartland or the mainland of India. But the Greeks and the Hindus, these two civilizations are the most scientific civilizations is what I believe. I mean, the amount of science which was transferred, learned, like we learned some things from them, they learned some things from us, and so much mathematics was, taught, generated, whatever. And it was a very good bond, such a good bond that our Indian sages, who called them the Yavanas, the mixed people, the people who have forgotten their ancestors, like they were tuchh jati for them. But they say that even if they are the Yavanas and they are not pure blood, we should respect them because they are very intelligent. So that is how we treated the invader neighbor. Like they came, they for many centuries they lived on the borders. There were fights, and like we shared borders with them. But in those times there were open borders. Anyone could walk into anybody's country and learn, do, there is exchange of culture and a lot of things. Well, when you reconquer some region, there are always people who are living in that region, right? Some Greeks who are living over there. But you can't just go and slaughter them, right? They are common people. They are not warriors, or they are not warriors who are going to come and fight you. After a lot of fighting, migration, exiling, and lots of things, lots of politics, a Central Asian tribe called the Shakas or the Scythians invaded these Indo-Greeks from the north, the Indo-Greeks of Gandhar and Cambodia, and they eradicated them. Now these Scythians or Shakas, as we call them, invaded India with a great force. They invaded into Punjab, they conquered Sindh, Gujarat, Mewar, Marwar, Malwa, and then Maharashtra too. The proud Kshatriyas of India were challenged by a worthy, strong opponent. Vikram Sen or Vikramaditya of Ujjain, as we know him, who belonged to the Parmara dynasty, was called Shakari, which means the killer or the defeater of Shakas. He, it is said that his, whatever I have collected data on him, says that his father Ugrasen, he was attacked by the Shakas and he was defeated in battle and humiliated. So in order to take revenge of his father, he decided to completely eradicate all the Shakas. A brief description of his life and what is the controversy is given by me in one of the videos. The link must be flashing here probably. Don't forget to check it out. I hope you will like it. The next to come were the Shalivahanas or the Satvahanas. They took up arms against these Central Asian Scythians or Shakas. There was great rivalry between the Shaka satraps and Gautamiputra Satkarni, who was the Satvahana king. The Satvahanas are believed to be the descendants of King Vikramaditya of Ujjain, who was the eradicator of the Shakas. While the Shakas were battered by the Parmars and the Satvahanas, the Kushans, which is another Central Asian tribe, attacked them from the north and subjugated them. The complete annexation of the Shaka satrap of Rudrasingh III marked the eradication of the Shaka rule, which was done by Chandragupta II of Gupta dynasty, who then took up the title of Vikramaditya, as both of them eradicated the Shakas. The Kushans were a force which kind of stuck around for a while. The greatest Kushan king is Kanishka. Well, he is called the greatest Kushan king because he ruled an empire which stretched from Central Asia to Patliputra to China, the Xinjiang region. Slowly, the western part of the Kushan Empire started falling to the Sassanid Empire of Persia, while the southeastern or the eastern part started falling to the ambitious Guptas. Then came another Central Asian tribe which is known as Shwet Hunas or the White Huns. Mihir Kula, who was one of the Shwet Huna kings, his name is very important and it should be mentioned in this video because he is the one who burned the library of Takshashila. Not just the library, I mean the entire university. Yes, if you think it was one of the Islamic invader, well then noopsies. It was Mihir Kula who did it. He was an atheist who did not believe in any religion, and in order to impose his attitude on his subjects, he burned the Buddhist monastery and the university. The Brahmins who lived in his kingdom were hated by him because they would recite the hymns. He would slaughter Buddhist monks and he was very cruel in his ways. In order to bring justice to him, Yashodharman, the Aulikara king from Malwa, formed a confederacy with the Gupta ruler and other small kings. His victory at the Battle of Sondani pushed out the Shwet Hunas out of India, which marked the end of the Alcon Huna era. 2-3 years ago, going into comment sections of videos or posts with fake narratives and fighting there with proper scientific facts was one of the ways I would pass my time. Well, one day, a person whom I was fighting with put forward an argument that all the North Indians are impure because they are the illegitimate descendants of these Shakas, Hunas, Greeks, or Yavanas, and the Kushans, and that the South Indians are the only pure Bharatiyas left. Actually, many people today think that way. Well, there is a very genuine reason to that too. All these Yavanas, Mlechas, and all these outsiders, well, they were outsiders and they had invaded us, yes, but they never tried to eradicate our culture, the native culture. In fact, they always gave land and donated money to these institutions who would set up universities and make or build temples. The rivalry between the locals and the outsiders was never because of the culture or religion they followed. They were always fighting to prove who is stronger and who is more valorous and who will go down in history. During these times, no common man was ever harmed, and sciences and mathematics and education and in general philosophy and culture were exported and shared between each other. Well, Mihir Kula is an exception, but that is why I specifically mentioned him in this video. The Dharmic influence which was spread by the Mauryans was so much that all these tribes were following some sort of dharma. They either belonged to the Shaiva Pantha or the Buddha Pantha. Mahabharat and all the Smritis and the Nyaya Shastras never say that we should throw away these outsiders who have come and settled down, like the common people. We should never be like, we should never have hate against them. That is what they say. They always give them their freedom to follow whichever religion or culture they want, and this is very clear in all the Smritis and the Nyaya Shastras, Puranas, or whatever. Science, art, philosophy, and rights of the common man were always held high by the kings, and this is written again and again by various scholars who lived from 500 BCE to 600 CE. And then Islam came. Says Al-Biruni, by the way, I quote him in this sentence which I said just now. He was a Khwarezmian Iranian scholar who has done so much research on Sanatan Dharma and its sects and scriptures, has studied our itihasas, culture and sciences, and has also translated texts from Sanskrit into Persian. He writes that when the Arabs attacked Al-Hind, they slaughtered any man in sight, violated every woman and child they saw, vandalized every temple and garlanded the idols with the intestines of cows. The Hindus were so shocked and scared of the barbarism that they ran out of their cities, and from since this happened. The Hindus, who were so liberal and friendly with foreigners, grew hateful and angered at the sight of one. This is what Al-Biruni, a foreigner, writes about the doings of his own people. From the 7th century CE, the Islamic invasions of India began. Any country at which the swords of jihad looked at was won by them but Bharat. If the Christian crusades which marched from the west to Bethlehem to defend the Christian civilization is legendary, then Bharat being the only country and civilization who did not fall to the swords of any Ghazi or Sultan and still stands as a secular state, if not a Hindu Rashtra. Even after going under attempts after attempts of changing the culture and religion of this country for the last 1300 years, well, this is also extremely legendary. Also because many times this war or this battle or this resilience was fought not by some king and his army but by the very common people, and this is a very unique fact in world history. Eventually, even Europe fell to the Islamic Caliphate called as the Umayyad Caliphate, which was the first caliphate formed after the death of the Prophet. Well, but India was never conquered by any caliphate ever. Well, no caliphate could set foot on or has not set foot on the land of Bharat. The ethnicity of Islamic invaders and rulers changed from Arabs to Turks to Afghans, but Bharat never fell to any of them. How did they do this? Who were the people who fought? Were they united or were they strong even after being divided? What was the secret? Stay tuned to know more about these heroes. Let's hear stories and learn about the might of the Rajputs.